All right, guys, we're back with more fantasy baseball content here. I'm going to talk to you guys about 10 players right now who are having breakout seasons so you can trust that the breakout is real. But first, before we get into it, I have to thank everyone for being back here again, supporting the channel. A couple videos ago, we hit our subscriber goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of April. Thank you all so much for helping me reach that goal. I'm really excited about it, but now I want to get to 7,500 subscribers before the end of May. So that's a new goal, 7,500 subscribers, end of May. So if you guys want to get notifications every time I drop a new video, please go down there, click that big black subscriber button. It's going to be a great month of content. We're going to redo the pitching rankings, redo a lot of other positional rankings, my waiver wire video every single week. Tons of great content going out all the time. Don't want you guys to miss anything. So again, big black button down there, subscribe. Also drop this video a like. But now let's get into it. When I'm talking about breakout players, I'm talking about them in the sense of that these guys through the first month of the season have really elevated their value. Like, we shouldn't be looking at these 10 players I'm going to talk about the same way that we looked at them before any games were played this year. Mainly because these players not only playing better, but all of the stuff that they're doing under the hood tells us that they are actually genuinely just better. Don't be scared about them to fall off. You have them on your rosters. And this is also kind of video where if you're playing in any kind of dynasty league, they're players that wouldn't be afraid to buy high. I know their value has increased a lot, but these guys seem to just have truly, again, elevated their games in a way that's very, very legitimate. Especially the first player I'm going to name, O'Neal Cruz, center fielder on the Pirates. If you guys were here with me during the preseason content, you know how obsessed I was with O'Neal Cruz this draft season. One of my favorite players to watch in the entire league, and I'm really just so proud and happy that he's absolutely crushing it right now. Through nearly a month of play, he has 8 home runs, leads the league with 14 stolen bases, nearly has a 900 OPS. That is a bona fide superstar. That's someone where if you were looking back in draft season and you knew you'd get these stats right now, he might have been a first-round pick. And the big thing with Cruz, you always come back to it, it's still just blatantly probably the best raw power in all of baseball, which I'm not saying lightly. He's in the 100th percentile in bat speed, the 100th percentile in hard hit rate. He himself, Cruz, is personally responsible for 4 of the 6 hardest balls put in play so far this entire season, and himself has already hit 7 batted balls harder than 115 miles an hour, where the next closest player in the entire league has only hit 4 batted balls like that. Even if you look in the scope of the entire league, only 16 players have done that in general, hit the ball at least 115 miles an hour. O'Neal Cruz already done it 7 times himself. But the best part of this Cruz breakout is that he's finding better ways to actually access that raw power. He's hitting fewer ground balls, which means he's hitting more fly balls, lifting the ball more consistently. And as he's lifting the ball more consistently, he's also pulling those fly balls more consistently. And he's able to access that, again, left-handed pull power a lot more easily. There's also so many little things that he improved under the hood with his plate discipline. He's more patient overall. That's helping him chase fewer pitches outside the strike zone. But while that's happening, he's still attacking many of the right pitches inside the strike zone. So that, plus the more active pull power, that's telling me that just like last year, O'Neal Cruz has taken another step forward with his pitch identification and pitch recognition, which were the key things that were holding him back as this just loud, toolsy, inconsistent player in the early part of his career. On top of injuries as well, and right now he's very healthy. And you can feel how healthy he is because he's stealing more bases. Again, he leads the league in stolen bases right now. O'Neal Cruz, 6'7" behemoth O'Neal Cruz with the best power in the league, leads the league with 14 stolen bases. We're going on a full year for O'Neal Cruz where he hasn't even been caught stealing. All the way since April 2024, he's stolen 34 consecutive bases in the regular season without being caught. Something has really clicked with O'Neal Cruz and his base stealing ability. He was already really fast, but he's figured out a way to get better jumps, read pitchers better, and he's become a real monster on the base paths. Still, in terms of real life baseball, it's a major work in progress in center field. A lot of fly balls there are still adventures. I'm sure if you guys are Pirates fans watching this, you know what I'm talking about. But the guy's a smash hit. He's not that far off from an MVP ceiling, the one we kind of foretold on this channel before the season. I'm really happy about that. I'm really proud of Cruz himself for taking these big steps forward, and we can kind of go forward now, understanding that O'Neal Cruz is truly a superstar in Major League Baseball. Now, next up is Hunter Brown, starting pitcher on the Astros. And we're getting to a point with Brown where he really kind of should be considered like a borderline top 10 pitcher in baseball. He has the lowest ERA in the American League over the last calendar year. He just had a huge puff piece written about him by Jeff Passan that's making their waves around baseball media right now, which is amazing to see. That's you know you're getting to superstar level, where Jeff Passan is starting to write nationwide featured articles about you. And at the end of the day, it's because Brown is a budding star and someone with an amazing story. The Astros discovered him at a junior college. He had big stuff, but really, really horrible command coming through the minor leagues. His stuff has ticked up even more. He's throwing harder. He's picked up new pitches. The command has been wrangled in. But even when he got to the major leagues a few years ago, he was still a bit inconsistent. Wasn't really able to maintain velocity. Wasn't able to throw enough strikes. Wasn't able to pick the right breaking balls to throw in certain counts. It was still, again, a work in progress for a while, despite making a lot of progress through the upper minors with the Astros and having pretty decent prospect pedigree by the time he did reach the league. And even still, I feel like this is a fake breakout season for him, because last year in a full season, he had 3.49 ERA for the whole season. That's an amazing year. But the reason I do want to still include him on this, and the reason I still think that the breakout is ongoing for Hunter Brown, is because the beginning of last season, he was going through a huge identity crisis and having a bit of a disaster. He had a 9.78 ERA on May 1st, 2024. A 10 ERA through 6 starts last season. People were dropping him in fantasy leagues. People were freaking out about him. There were rumors about him taking a stint in the bullpen. It was very, very bad. And again, considering now, since then, the guy's the best ERA in the American League. And the biggest reason that happened, something that's kind of hilariously simple, but tells us a lot about pitching development, is that Hunter Brown, who was throwing a sinker back when he was coming up through the minors and in college, reintroduced the sinker to his repertoire, because as he was coming up through the Astros minor league system, he has a good fastball, a lot of good hop, riding action at the top of the strike zone, a good induced vertical break like I talk about on this channel a good bit. They kind of told him to focus on that pitch. That's the pitch that's going to get you your swings and misses. That's the pitch we want you to throw more often. But he kind of got a bit repetitive, so hitters were able to sit on it and tee off on it because they knew whenever Hunter Brown was throwing something hard, whenever they can identify that Hunter Brown was throwing something at the top of the strike zone, it was going to be that same fastball, sit dead red, crush that pitch. But now reintroducing that sinker, that gave him a wrinkle of a pitch that moves a little bit differently to the fastball, so hitters have to adjust to something a little bit different when they see a pitch in that same spot of the zone. Again, maybe not always high in the zone, but just when you're seeing something hard, when identifying a hard pitch without breaking ball spin, now they have to think twice about which pitch they're going to get. Making hitters think that much more about the pitch when you still have a good fastball, when you have multiple good secondaries, that changed everything. Because I told you guys that on May 1st last season, when Hunter Brown had a 9.78 ERA, the first time all season he threw that sinker was May 5th. And from that point to the end of the year, he had a 2.51 ERA and truly pitched like one of the best pitchers in the entire league. Now he's carried that success into this season where all 4 of his main pitches, the fastball, the sinker, the cutter, and the knuckle curveball, have at least a 23% whiff rate. Right now, he's running what would be a career low walk rate at 5%, a career best strikeout rate at 29%. It's all come together for Brown. He's a really good pitcher again. This breakout for me is the fact that right now he's asserted himself as basically a borderline top 10 pitcher in all of baseball and someone who can be considered in many leagues a fantasy baseball ace. Next up's another fun one, someone that's just crushing the ball right now. It's Pete Crow Armstrong, center fielder on the Cubs. And he's becoming a true household name with the way he started the season with 8 home runs, 12 stolen bases, an 860 OPS, and a strikeout rate that's down to about 20%, which is amazing considering where Pete Crow Armstrong started his major league career a few years ago. He was a high draft pick of the Mets, traded to the Cubs in the Javi Baez trade, who developed as a marquee prospect with really loud tools and kind of this star energy that he has. He's got the blue hair now, like he has star qualities about him. But every single time he got to the major leagues, he showed an inability to make contact consistently. He couldn't access any of his tools, and he kind of was just looking like a defensive first center fielder for the last few years. But he made some huge changes starting last year that have really helped him to improve his contact rate to the point that's now allowed his tools to play up and make him look like a star. He added a bit more of a leg kick. He's a little bit more crouched in the box, a little bit more of an athletic start up there, and kept his bat much more upright. When he made all those changes last year in August, he wound up having a 120 WRC plus from that point to the end of the season. So you're like, okay, I can see it with Pete Crow Armstrong. Things are starting to look real here. And then coming into this season, he's adjusted even more. He now has a much wider stance. His feet are further apart in the batter's box, and he's moved a few inches deeper in the batter's box. So he's giving himself a little bit extra time, a little bit extra time to let pitches travel more and to identify them. All in all, this has drastically improved his ability to make contact. Last season, he had one of the lowest zone contact rates in all of baseball. So far this season, it's a little bit above league average. Huge check mark. Another key here, as Pete Crow Armstrong was failing and swinging and missing a lot, especially missing balls in the zone, he was really struggling, especially with pitches on the outer third of the plate. Last season, even with his improvement towards the end of the year, he had nearly a 40% whiff rate on pitches on the outer third of the strike zone. So far this season, it's about 15%. That's a ridiculous improvement and telling me that now he is better equipped to handle pitches in any part of the strike zone. A really important thing for a major league hitter. And again, while he looks like a full-blown superstar right now and while he's producing like one, he still has some major holes, and I do expect a cold streak to come soon. His swing decisions overall are still not good. He loves chasing pitches out of the zone. And to this point in his major league career, he still refuses to draw a walk. That walk rate is right between 4 and 5%. So again, all of that tells me that there is an inevitable cold streak here. But at the end of the day, these big swing adjustments, his ability to make more contact, access that power, and of course use his speed, and the fact he's going to be on the field every single day because his incredible center field defense, his floor is much, much higher than we perceived it to be a month ago. And he's someone that even with a cold streak, we should continue to trust moving forward. Next up is Mackenzie Gore, starting pitcher in the Nationals. And Gore is a great reminder that a lot of times pitchers, especially big left-handed pitchers, just take a little bit more time to develop than some other guys, especially compared to position players. Especially when you add on top of the fact that Gore's been in an organization that's probably not the most modern with their pitching development. So again, a couple more hurdles to climb over for Gore to kind of figure himself out, contain his mechanics, understand his stuff and how it works the best. But it seems like that is actually happening right now. It's very exciting because really the stuff with Gore was always just a little bit too good for him to never actually click. He has the mid to upper 90s fastball from a high slot with really good riding action at the top of the strike zone that most of the lefty pitchers just simply don't have. So far this season, he is one of just 6 left-handed starting pitchers in all of baseball to have a fastball that averages over 95 miles an hour. Again, that kind of big fastball from a lefty is rare and always made Gore a unicorn. Especially when on top of that, he always had this big, incredible two-plane curveball that if you squinted and didn't really look especially hard at, it kind of looked like Clayton Kershaw's curveball. So again, he had these two things that were amazing, but there wasn't really a good pitch that he had consistent command enough to bridge them together. And in general, the command from Mackenzie Gore was always very, very hit or miss. But so far this year, that command is much improved. He's much better hitting his spots with both that fastball and curveball. And now he has a slider that moves really nicely in between the fastball and the curveball, and a pitch that's been able to bridge the whole repertoire together. He was throwing a variation of this slider a few years ago, but then kind of scrapped it ahead of last season, didn't really throw it at all. But now he's brought it back with a slightly different movement profile. It's down 2 miles an hour. It has more depth, which I'm saying that just drops more. And he's become so comfortable with it so quickly, he's basically throwing it the exact same amount as his fastball against left-handed hitters specifically. And against them, it has nearly a 50% whiff rate and a 130 batting average against. The pitch has been disgusting. It's been a huge game changer for him. Again, bridging the whole repertoire together. And now with 3+ pitches, and that's still very high quality fastball, the sky is truly the limit. His 3.5 ERA right now isn't actually that much different than how he ended last year, but there's more strikeouts, there's fewer walks, and I'm really going to say again, guys, the sky's the limit. He has a repertoire that can turn him into one of the best pitchers in baseball over the next few years if he can continue to figure out his command a little bit better, and then possibly even get more comfortable with his cutter and his changeup off this amazing fastball curveball slider. So again, hilariously, while Gore has elevated himself up a level, opposed to a lot of other guys in this list, he probably even has the most room to improve on top of it all. So I love Mackenzie Gore, one of my favorite pitchers to watch in baseball right now. Next up is Tyler Soderstrom, first baseman, possibly outfielder on the Athletics. He's become one of the home run leaders in baseball this year, seemingly out of nowhere. It's not totally out of nowhere because he was a big prospect, he was a high draft pick. Last year in a limited sample, he did have really good power metrics, pretty good swing decisions, and coming into this year, he had an everyday lineup spot. So he was a really good guy to focus on this year in terms of breakouts preseason. Now it's come to fruition, which is awesome. But again, what he's doing right now was never even close to expected. 9 homers, 24 RBIs, and nearly 900 OPS in 33 games is an absolutely ridiculous start to the season. And one that'll put him in all-star discussions. And it's cool because everything he's doing feels sustainable because a lot of these things he did show last year, but now he's been a little bit better at them. He's hitting the ball a bit harder. He's making slightly better swing decisions, and he's accessing this raw power much better because he's making more contact and improve the quality of his contact. His zone contact rate that was just around league average last year is now way above league average, almost in 90th percentile, which is amazing. And he's pulling his fly balls nearly twice as often compared to last season. Those two right there, that's the big reason for the huge power output, actual production-wise, rather than just, oh, this guy could be good, stuff under the hood is good. That's how you turn under the hood power into actual power. He's done it beautifully. And I think a big reason he's done that are for some cool, subtle swing changes that Tyler Soderstrom's made. Again, I talk about this a lot in this channel, but the Baseball Savant new bat tracking data is really incredible. I implore everybody to kind of just check it out and move around those leaderboards because they're really cool. A lot of cool stuff to see. And looking at Soderstrom's swing distribution specifically, last year he seemed to really be obsessed with swing as hard as possible, as much as possible. There were a lot of really ridiculous war hacks where he was just swinging out of his shoes trying to hit the ball as much as possible. And it also felt like that him planning to do that, it kind of led to more ugly swings too. So you're seeing a bit more of a wide distribution of swing speed for Soderstrom last season. Now looking at this season, his fast swing rate is down, but his average bat speed is basically the same. That's because he's been able to really tighten up his swing mechanics and have much more consistent swings in the same range as much as possible. That's telling me this is a guy who's playing within himself, understanding what he can do better, and he's kind of letting his tools do more of the work rather than, again, trying to swing out of his shoes as much as possible. And again, I mentioned it at the top of this segment, but Soderstrom has been playing a little bit of outfield now with Nick Kurtz being called up by the Athletics and playing more first base. Him getting that outfield eligibility is just icing on the cake for his fantasy value of someone that's really broken out so far this season. Now, next up is Shane Baz, starting pitcher on the Rays. I think Baz gives us a really good lesson for fantasy baseball and just evaluating pitchers where when a guy comes back immediately after Tommy John surgery, we shouldn't really judge them immediately after as the pitcher they always have been or we think always will be. Because Baz came back last season after Tommy John surgery, a couple other injuries off of it, and kind of just showed reduced stuff. And that was scary because Baz's whole thing was always this massive stuff. But he didn't look as good, and I kind of wrote him off a little bit this year, being like, oh, maybe he's not the same after the surgery. Again, huge mistake from a guy in his 20s because Baz looks electric right now. He has had 2 pretty ugly starts over the last week or so against the Yankees and the Royals that have ballooned his ERA up, but even with those 2 huge blowups this early part in the season, it's still just a 3.86 ERA. But again, we don't really care about those stats like that much early in the season. We care about the way stuff looks, and Baz's stuff looks amazing. His fastball sitting 97 miles an hour. His knuckle curveball, which he really emphasized when he returned last year from the surgery, has become an even bigger part of his repertoire and is downright disgusting. And on top of that, he's made some adjustments to his changeup where it has more horizontal movement this season and has been a devastating weapon against left-handed batters. Again, Baz is a guy where I'm really ignoring the ERA right now, even though it's still fine. It's not a great ERA. It's not like a sterling, sparkling, amazing ERA. It doesn't start with a 2 or anything. But because the stuff looks this good, it looks to where he was pre-surgery, it looks to where he was that made him such an exciting prospect. I'm very in on Baz. I'm much more confident in him now than I was in March. Next up is Ben Rice, first baseman DH on the Yankees. And he's someone who I feel like has lost some of the shine from the early part of the season because he's had a slow last few weeks here. But even when Ben Rice has had, again, a slow last few weeks, it's an 850 OPS and 4 homers over 15 games. The guy is still a stud and should be treated as such. He's still showcasing some of the best raw power in the league. He still has some of the best bat speed in the league. There's still very few hitters in baseball or hitting hitting the ball as hard, as consistently as Rice. He still barely swings at pitches outside the strike zone. You do all of those things with at least a passable contact rate, and it's very hard for you to fail, as we're seeing with Rice right now. Again, just elevating himself as a player before our very eyes. And again with Rice, he had this last year. He had the signs of the breakout. He was still hitting the ball hard consistently when he hit it. He was still not often chasing pitches out of the strike zone. And based on every hitter in baseball last year, he was the most unlucky in terms of the difference between his expected WOBA and his actual WOBA. Now he's turning all that expected stuff into good production. We love to see it. The one thing that does hold Rice's fantasy value back a bit, though, is the fact that the Yankees still don't exactly play him every day. It's just a very crowded first base DH situation in New York. He's sat 3 times in the past 2 weeks, which again, that's not really a lot, but it does feel like a lot in fantasy when you're setting a week lineup and you know someone's playing 5 games and someone else playing 6 games. That hurts him, straight up. Also, the fact that Trent Grisham has played really, really well this year, and he's blatantly the Yankees' best defensive center fielder on their roster, so they're finding many more ways to shoehorn him into the lineup, which sometimes comes at the expense of Ben Rice or even possibly Jason Dominguez. And Paul Goldschmidt is hitting well. Something we thought about for Rice to siphon off more playing time beginning of the season was Goldschmidt fall off just happened all at once, and Rice now just becomes the everyday first baseman. Hasn't happened, so he's still like an 80% of the time player rather than 100% of the time everyday player, but the skill growth is real. He's a genuine, true breakout player this season. Now, next up is Tyler McGill, starting pitcher on the Mets. And I talk about McGill like every third video I do in this channel, right, guys? That's because he's awesome. He needs more recognition for it. He was on my preseason breakout pitcher list. He's been featured on 2 separate waiver wire articles because, again, still, he's only about 50% roster in ESPN leagues, and I can't figure out why because the guy's incredible. His ERA right now sits around 2. His strikeout rate's around 30%. His walk rate's around 7%. Right there, bang. That's very obvious, big blinking signs. This guy is awesome. Even if we go back to last season, when the Mets reinserted him into their starting rotation at the end of August down the stretch for a really important playoff push, and then you add that to what he's done this year, it's over 60 innings pitched with an ERA under 2 and a strikeout rate over 30%. Like right there, boom. That tells me ascending ace. All right, maybe not ascending ace, but Tyler McGill's a very good pitcher, and he's proved himself as that this year, mostly because of some big improvements he's made both with his aggressiveness and his repertoire. First, the aggressiveness. McGill always kind of had this identity as being a bit of a nibbler, someone who's kind of scared to come in the strike zone and challenge hitters, but he has big stuff. He's always had great stuff, great velocity. And so far this year, this is the first time in 3 seasons where he's got his first pitch strike rate up over 60%, which is even still a hair below league average, but again, him challenging hitters more, even just a league average rate from when he used to be a little bit scared the last couple of years, that's done wonders for his production. And then on top of that, what he's added to his repertoire in the last calendar year is nothing short of amazing. When he came back up last season, the sinker was the new wrinkle. That, along with his fastball, it sits in the upper 90s. Great things for hitters to think about as pitchers in the upper 90s are moving in slightly opposite directions. Then heading into this year, he added a new slider to his repertoire. Has much more depth than the old slider he was throwing. When I say depth, I mean more drop. It's been a weapon against lefties, still really nasty against righties. Pitches missing tons of bats. His new marquee put-away pitch, which you really needed, and now he has it. And then on top of that, he's working on a kick changeup because he had to scrap his old changeup because he was never able to command it. Also, he's trying a splitter. He didn't know where that was going as well. And that kick changeup right now is really just a 10% of the time pitch against left-handed batters. But again, him showing more wrinkles, him showing more stuff, him giving batters more things to think about, I think has been a huge piece in elevating him as a pitcher. On top of that, with McGill, really important for his fantasy value. The Mets play great defense, have a good lineup that's going to give him lots of run production. They have a great home park to pitch in. It's all together. Tyler McGill is someone that is 10-team viable. He, to me, is a blatant, clear top 50 pitcher in baseball right now, probably even stretching into the top 40. He's been that good, and I trust him that much moving forward. Next up is Spencer Torkelson, first baseman of the Tigers, the 3rd first baseman on this list. A big part of the early season this year, it's been the year of the first baseman. These guys like Soderstrom, Torkelson, and Ben Rice have kind of usurped and taken the spots of other first basemen like Tristan Casas, Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Tolia, Jake Berger. Guys that were ascending or thought to be a little bit more stable have kind of all lost out to these guys, especially Soderstrom and Torkelson, that were big prospects with big pedigree that are finally able to access more of their ceiling. And with Torkelson, it's really just kind of a happy thing. Like, I'm proud of Torkelson for fighting through and becoming the player he's been this year. Because as a former number 1 overall pick that was struggling, then he turned a corner, looked like he was going to be an ascending guy before last season, fell flat on his face, basically lost his starting job heading into this season, and now has taken it back with 2 hands and climbed all the way back up. That's just a really good, baseball story, and reminds us that prospect development is never going to be linear, even for number 1 overall pick super prospects like Torkelson. But so far this season, over a month, he has 9 home runs, 26 RBIs, and 870 OPS. That's a tremendous start to the season. Again, one similar to Soderstrom and some of these other guys, he's going to have all-star consideration. That great production is also supported by amazing power metrics. He has an awesome hard hit rate. He has a very low chase rate. He's pulling tons of his fly balls. It all feels very real for Torkelson right now. And another thing really cool about Torkelson, again, going to talk some of this new bat tracking data we have on Baseball Savant, he's made some major swing adjustments heading into this season. He's moved over 6 inches back in the batter's box from when he was a little bit ahead of the front of the home plate last year. So now he's a few inches behind it. And he also really opened up his stance, going from 2 degrees open open, so basically just a straight up stance, is 17 degrees open now, being a bit of an open hitter. And on top of that, he's much less wide in the box. His feet are much closer together. All of this is allowing him to better identify pitches and also get out in front of pitches more and just simply drive the ball better, make more hard, consistent contact. That's what Torkelson's doing right now. He's always had the tools to do it. Very cool to see his adjustments take place in real time, and very high belief in Torkelson as one of, the 10 or so best first basemen in baseball, and someone who still does look like he has this true 35 homer power that we thought he had coming up as a prospect. Now, last up here is Max Meyer, starting pitcher on the Marlins, another former top pick, another former top prospect who had some ups and downs and is now kind of planted his flag as a pitcher in this league. Through his first month of the season, he has a 3.3 ERA and a 33% strikeout rate, striking out 1/3 of the hitters he's faced. That's nutty production from Meyer, and one that's made him, again, a clear top 50, top 40-ish pitcher in the league moving forward. I think a big thing with Meyer, which is kind of funny, is that he had that marquee 14 strikeout game a few weeks back that really put him on the national stage. There was a lot of buzz around Meyer, and I think while some of that is deserved because he is breaking out, of course, when you have a 14 strikeout game, now people are perceiving you as like a superstar and an ace. That's a little bit unfair for Meyer still at this point in his career, but cool to see him get that recognition for such a big game. And really cool to see the way that Myers amended his repertoire to kind of become this new pitcher. When he was coming out of Minnesota in the draft, he was known as a cutter guy. He's fixed that pitch up a little bit, and now it's really just a true down, hard gyro slider. And that pitch is far and away his primary pitch. He's thrown nearly twice as many of those sliders this season as fastballs. That pitch is the one that he uses as much as he possibly can. That's the focus pitch. Again, the primary pitch for Meyer, that tight slider. And he can do that, focus on the slider as his primary pitch, because Meyer does have tremendous command. And when he has pinpoint command of that slider, it's really a beautiful thing to watch. He is so good at manipulating the edges of the plate with that pitch against both lefties and righties to the point where it's just dancing on the other half. And you really do not know whether to swing at it or not, or even if you can hit it when you actually decide to. Past that, he does still have a fastball. He has a sweeper that's new and a great manipulation pitch off that slider, because if you think you're going to get the tight slider, then you get the sweeper coming all the way across, now you're done. Along with a sinker that's also new and a changeup that he mixes in here and there. That sinker is a really important and valuable wrinkle for him, like I mentioned with a couple other guys on this video, because his fastball shape is just kind of and he gets some really big velocity oscillations between like 93 and 96 miles an hour. Something I would watch with Meyer moving forward. If his effectiveness waxes and wanes, a lot of it will come down to command because the slider primary guy, but also if he has a bad start, check where that fastball velocity is. If it's below 95, that's kind of the spot where Meyer's fastball becomes less effective, because when the shape's not good and then the velocity is also not good, now it gets hit. But similar to a guy like McGill, he has a great home park to pitch in, Lome Depot, Miami. That Marlins team does suck though, but what that means is that Meyer has absolutely no chance of losing this rotation spot all season. He's just firmly a dude. Again, a clear top 40, top 50 guy with even a little bit more upside if he can kind of wrangle in that fastball velocity and figure out probably some slight better ways to sequence off that primary slider. That is the list though, guys. There are a few more breakouts I kind of wanted to mention, but didn't think they fit in. A guy like Jung Hoo Lee is having an amazing season, but has a $100 million contract from the Giants. I don't know if a guy with a $100 million contract can be considered a breakout. Same with someone like Nick Pivetta, who's again breaking out in a huge way right now with the Padres, but his underlying stuff the last few years is always so good that this seemed kind of completely foretold that Pivetta would eventually be like a clear 2-3 starter type in this league. And then a guy like Matthew Liberatore, who's just been amazing. Slider primary guy, similar to Max Meyer. Also legit prospect pedigree, has taken a while. But I do want to see a little bit more from a guy like Liberatore. He's still very young, and overall the stuff isn't that good, but there's a slide is really good on top. But hey, you guys get down in the comments. Let me know any breakout players you think I've missed. Tell me about breakout players you think they're maybe going to break out next. Guys who've had slow starts, maybe some more buy lows. Just anything. I love to mix it up down there in the comments with you guys. But thank you guys again so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you're not already. There's going to be some great videos coming out in the next few weeks. My updated pitching rankings, waiver wires every single week. Lots of great stuff on this channel. Please also drop this video a like. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time.